Hello and welcome everybody. Today's webinar is titled 7 Things You Need to Know About Mobility Testing. This webinar is being brought to you by Idexcel, and the speakers for today's webinar are Venkata Desari, who is our Director of Testing Services, and our guest speaker is Alex Cherniak, the CTO of ZAP Technologies. In this webinar, Venkat will talk about the 7 most important things you need to know about mobile testing. He will primarily highlight testing challenges specific to mobile application testing and discuss many mobile testing best practices and tools. And our guest speaker, Alex, will speak about the industry-leading tools and platforms in the mobility testing space. A few tips about the platform we are using to deliver this webinar. Once the presenter starts the webinar, all the phone lines will be put on mute so that we have clear audio from the presenter. You can ask questions anytime you want on the moderated chat window at the right corner of the screen. When we run the poll, you can answer on your monitors and the data will be collated and presented live after the polling time ends. And if you miss any part of this webinar, you can visit our website, idexcel.com, and listen to the webinar on demand. Before we start the webinar, we would like to introduce Idexcel and who we are. Idexcel is an IT services company providing cutting-edge technology solutions and testing services to Fortune 500 companies since 1998. We are 600 associates strong and have 10 global delivery locations. We are proud to say that most of our workforce is domain certified, and thus we bring in domain knowledge, technical capabilities, and thought leadership to our client engagements. We are partners with industry-leading technology giants like Oracle, IBM, Microsoft, and HP. We are also partners with leading mobility tool providers like ZAP. With that, I welcome Venkat to take over and deliver the webinar. Thank you all.
Thank you, Anna. I would like to thank you all for joining us for this webinar. Let's look at the agenda for today. We'll have a quick poll to understand how mobile is influencing your lives. I will look at the trends in mobility, the 7 things that we promised to cover in this mobility webinar, and we'll look at what constitutes a successful testing model for mobility testing. And finally, we'll look at the new breed of mobile testing tools, and this particular topic will be presented by Alex. Then we'll open up the floor for questions. I would like to initiate a poll to understand how mobility is influencing your lives. There are 2 questions. The question 1 is, how many smart devices do you have in your house? Smart devices meaning smartphones, tablets, e-readers, etc. There are 2 options. Option 1 is 2 or less, and option 2 is over 2. Let me initiate the poll. Alright, I got the results. Let me initiate the next poll. The next question is, what do you use these devices for? Options are fun, work, personal, all. Good, we have the results. I'm going to close this poll as well. So from what the people have answered, I can assess that around 60% of people said they have more than 2 devices. And around 80% of the people said they use the devices for everything, meaning they use it for fun, work, and personal, which is a kind of a very interesting fact because most of us use devices for more than one thing. Yeah. So now let's look at some interesting trends that are happening in the mobility space. This is some graphic that we collected, and it shows that there are 4 billion mobile phones worldwide as compared to 1.5 billion TVs and 480 million daily newspapers. Of the 4 billion phones, around a billion of them are smartphones. And half of all the searches that are happening on the internet are coming through mobile phones. That's a very interesting fact, isn't it? Next, let's look at a study that was conducted by Harvard Business Review, and they took some information from IDG surveys, and this really shows how mobile is influencing the enterprises as well, not only our personal lives, fun, work, personal lives, but also it's influencing the enterprises. According to IDG, around 58% of the respondents have deployed industry-specific mobile applications, meaning they deployed some applications that are useful in their manufacturing industries, that are useful in the transportation and logistic industries, and things like that. And around 54% have deployed department-specific applications, meaning they deployed applications that are specific for HR or finance and like that. And thirdly, almost 54% have said that they've deployed dashboards or given access to analytics and key performance indicators to their CXOs. And what all this means is the impact of mobile devices and access to enterprise applications is becoming a transformational and strategic initiative from the CXO side. Apart from the usage trends across the general public and enterprises alike, there has been a tremendous focus on taking mobility to the next level. In fact, 4 of the top 10 technology predictions by Gartner are around mobility. So the first one says very soon, by end of 2013, we'll see more traffic on the internet coming from mobile devices than desktop applications and desktop systems. And secondly, we'll see a lot more applications coming out with HTML5 and JavaScript. And thirdly, we'll see an upward trend in the utilization of personal clouds and enterprise app stores. Personal clouds because now people have more than many devices, and they want to make sure that the data is not residing on one device. They want to keep it outside of the device, and then they should be able to access it from any device. That's why there's a upward trend in the adoption of personal clouds. And with the enterprises releasing a lot of applications, they want to make sure that they have their own app stores to deploy and service or serve these applications to their consumers. We can infer from all the data that we have seen so far that mobility usage will increase tremendously in the future. And anything you want to do, personal, fun, work, you'll see an app for that. And enterprises will start encouraging bring your own devices concept. And because of this, there'll be much more focus on the personally identifiable information and enterprise data security. And cloud and mobility and machine-to-machine communication will see tremendous growth. The machine-to-machine is basically you can control your refrigerators, ovens, microwaves using your mobile devices. That's the machine-to-machine communication there. The bottom line is that the mobility apps, sites, and mobile devices are all and will be very critical in everybody's life. Testing of these apps and sites is utmost important to survive and stay competitive in the market. Now, let's visit the 7 things you need to know about mobility testing. Thing 1. Choosing the right device, OS, form factor combination for testing. As mobile devices proliferate, you'll want to ensure that your mobile app or website performs properly on many of these combinations. And one of the major annoying concern is in the huge number of devices, operating systems, and their versions that are in use at any given point in time. This tremendously increases the testing effort, time, and complexity. I just here have compiled a list of devices that are released or going to be released in the last 2 quarters of this year, 2013. And this list is not all inclusive. So we already have seen 15 devices that are either released in Q3 or going to be released in Q4. So which is a vast list. Now we'll look at the OS versions. In the last 5.5 years to 6 years, iOS alone has released more than 50 updates to the OS. And the newest being the iOS 7, which is released last week. And a similar trend is seen for the Android OS versions as well. If you look at the picture here, you will see that the OS version Gingerbread, which was released in 2011, still has 30% usage even to this day, which means older versions are also still in use in the market today with the consumers. So that makes it even more important for us to test with older versions of the OSs as well when we deploy your application as well as websites. Here I'm showing the complexity that all these factors brings in. So for every feature that you have to test with various combinations of the OS versions, browsers, different handsets, the carriers like Sprint, AT&T, network and Wi-Fi, the locations and localizations, and different form factors. iPad has two different versions of iPad with two different form factors. Likewise, Android has umpteen number of form factors. So this testing matrix is only going to become complex and much more difficult to handle when more and more OS versions or different handsets and form factors are released to the market. So as an example, if there are 5 versions of OS that you want to certify your applications with, and if there are 2 browsers, you will have to test your applications and every feature in 5 times 2, which is 10 different combinations. And this is just not considering the other factors like the handsets, carriers, etc. Now imagine what would happen if you include the other factors like the form factor, carrier, and handsets, etc. into the mix. Now let's look at what you can infer from thing 1. First and foremost, you need to understand that not every combination out there can be tested. As a best practice, you need to understand your end users thoroughly and create a matrix of the devices, OS, network combinations that you will be supporting. Once you roll out your app to the production, start capturing details about what environment the user is using to access the application, like the OS, device, etc., which can be an intelligent input for testing the next time around for the next version of the app or a new app that you're going to release. You can also build a tool that can help you determine the target list of devices and OS combinations and form factors to provide maximum coverage at minimal cost. Based on input factors like type of application, target region, device popularity, context of use, etc. Remember the 80-20 rule. Try to pick the 20% of the combinations that can cover for 80% of your user population. That way, you would have optimized your testing and still had a good coverage. Here is a quick sample of mobile platform matrix that we used for one of our clients' testing based on the data that we collected from the production usage data. Now let's look at thing 2. You need to understand that the mobility testing is different than testing regular desktop applications. Though the intent and premise of testing remains the same, there are a lot of factors that makes mobility testing different and challenging. Earlier, we saw the mobility platform matrix and its complexity. Apart from that, the inherent traits of mobile devices like the limited CPU and memory, the various interruptions that mobile apps have to handle, like a phone call or an SMS coming in when you're in the middle of the game or using the app under test on the phone, and the location awareness and the type of input and the user interactivity which the mobile devices provide, like the touch and gestures these devices can accept. Let's discuss about the differences between traditional app testing and mobile app testing. If you consider the compatibility, you might have to test your traditional app against different OS, UI, and devices like desktop and laptop. From the mobility testing standpoint, apart from the OS, UI, and devices, you also have to consider the form factors. If you consider the networks, you might have to test your traditional applications with the LAN, WAN, or Wi-Fi network. Whereas from mobility testing, you might have to cover much more broader spectrum. You have to cover various carriers. You might have to cover different network technology types like CDMA, GPRS, GSM, 3G and 4G, and also Wi-Fi. And if you look at the user interface, the interactivity is primarily through keyboard or touchscreen for traditional applications. But for mobility apps testing, you might have to consider different devices that have QWERTY keyboard, soft keypad or keyboard, and touch screens as well, which accepts touch and gestures as a user interface. And if you think about the other factors like installation and installation upgrade, for traditional applications, they're primarily managed and maintained by internal enterprise teams. Whereas the mobility side, they're all done by the end users. So the installation and upgrade process has to be much more easy and also seamless. And you'll also have situations where when somebody is using an application in a test, there might be some interruptions coming in from different sides, like a phone call, an SMS, or an alert. So you have to do that kind of testing as well. And obviously the localization and location based testing, which is much more prominent to be done for mobile devices as compared to traditional app testing. Now let's look at what you need to do for thoroughly testing your mobile apps. You need to have a set of best practices wherein you can create a very detailed test strategy for mobile apps testing, and you have to think about um, the end users and the context of in which the application will be used, and create an end-to-end and holistic strategy for testing. And you need to customize your strategy and approach based on the nature of the application. A simple static website might not need the same level of testing as an enterprise class application or a financial application. So based on that, you need to think about your holistic strategy that covers the various aspects of testing that needs to be done for mobile apps. Now, let us move on to thing 3. This is about automation. Earlier, we have seen the complexity that is presented by the number of OS versions, browsers, and other factors. This unprecedented complexity exponentially increases the quantum of testing to certify a mobile application. Moreover, the mobile app development cycles are shrinking every day, which means a lot of testing could be done in a shorter period of time. As an example, if you have 100 test cases to test on iOS, BlackBerry, Android, and Windows, with 2 browsers that are supported on each platform, this number will quickly blow to 800 test cases. This is without even considering the other factors like devices, form factors, and networks. So, how do you address this complexity? You go with automation. So, what do we understand from thing 3? When it comes to automation, the basic principles or good automation practices that apply for traditional app testing will still apply for mobile app testing as well. Apart from that, there are a few things that you need to look at while selecting a tool for mobile automation. Make sure you have the tool with right object recognition techniques. Either it identifies objects based on the property or screen scraping. It should support keyword as well as data-driven testing. The tool must in no case need the code to be instrumented or the device to be jailbroken. If it does, then we are not testing the app as it would be deployed and used in the production. The tool should also integrate into other ALM toolset for standard reporting, and this will also reduce the learning curve for the testers. The tool should support devices on the cloud as well as emulators. It should be able to measure the resource utilizations like the RAM, CPU, and disk utilization, which are very vital for assessing the single user performance on the device. The thing 4 you need to know is the value of emulators in mobile testing. The fact is that it's quite impossible to get a hand on all the possible devices and form factors for testing. You can overcome this issue or constraint by using emulators. The emulators can be used for sanity and some level of system and regression testing. When it comes to emulators, there's a limitation on where you can use and where you cannot use emulators. Here is a quick chart. I've listed the various types of testing that can be used, that can be tested using emulators, and a few that cannot be tested using emulators. For example, sanity and to some extent the system and regression testing can be done using emulators, but the security, performance, and usability and UAT have to be done primarily on the physical devices. As a best practice, leverage emulators for doing early in the cycle testing and sanity testing. Though emulators are a great way to test an unavailable physical device or form factor, you must not certify a device just by testing on a device emulator, because there are a set of testing types that cannot be tested using emulators, just like what we discussed in the previous slide. In thing 5, we wanted to cover about the App Store deployment. This is very important for apps that are distributed through app stores. The statistics show that around 30 to 40% of apps get rejected at the App Store for very trivial and basic reasons. To give your app a best chance at the App Store, use a set of guidelines and checklists of common issues to be tested before you head to the App Store. Here are a set of guidelines and items to be tested before you roll out your app to the App Store. Your app will get rejected if you list App Store competitors, like referring to other app stores, linking to outside payment systems, or misusing trademarks and logos. Your app might also get rejected because of some usability issues like icon mismatches, inverted displays, non-responsiveness to rotation and touch, distorted or blurred images and text. There are many more factors that you need to validate before you roll out your app to the App Store. The best approach to cover for the App Store deployability testing is to build comprehensive testing guidelines based on the app submission guidelines provided by the app stores. As a best practice, you need to keep these lists and checklists and guidelines up to date and add new validations as new practices are adopted by the app stores. Now, let us talk about thing 6, performance. Performance is one of the critical success factors for your applications. Statistics show that around 70% of the users expect the mobile site to load as fast as the desktop sites. 60% of the users expect mobile sites to respond in 3 seconds or lower, and 78% of the users will try a site twice or lesser if it does not load initially. So, app launch time and app performance are very critical and make the first impression. If your app does not perform, users of the mobility platform have quick access to social media websites and apps, and their negative feedback on the social media could damage your brand reputation and eventually the number of users of your apps. Performance is especially important for retail apps or sites, as every second increase in response times means a fewer visitors and a fewer sales. Now let us look at the challenges that are encountered in performance testing of mobile applications and sites. Mobile devices are often subject to limited resources such as small CPU, limited amount of memory. So the performance testing is very important for mobile applications. Mobile applications may contain hidden exceptions, memory leaks, and deadlocks that go undetected during the normal course of testing. Performance testing helps expose these issues and make the app much more stable and better performing. There are several challenges encountered during the performance testing of mobile apps. Mobility performance testing should consider these while devising a holistic performance testing of mobile apps. You need to simulate various network types like 3G, 4G, LTE, Wi-Fi, GPRS, etc. As the number of users of your app grow, the traffic from these users to the servers will also grow. So you need to have the ability to access how much traffic your server will see and assess this traffic. And also there might be different device types that access your applications, and each with varied configurations and limited system resources. So the ability to assess the end user experience for all the device types you're supporting and the configurations is very important as well. So how do you ensure your apps are thoroughly performance tested? While building and testing mobile apps, give equal importance to performance testing and functional testing. Identify a collection of tools for performance testing that replicate real-world user load, simulate real-world mobile network conditions like constricted bandwidth, noise, 3G, 4G, etc. As discussed during the mobility automation topic, you capture the performance from the functional automation tool, which can provide a great deal of information about the single user performance and experience. Just like traditional apps, mobile apps do have multiple layers like the servers, databases, networks, devices, etc. Monitor each component of the mobile framework for performance and identify the hotspots for fixing. Do not forget to simulate various conditions during performance testing like user volumes, traffic originations, locations, network type, quality of the network, OS platforms, device types, and any other applications that are running on the devices simultaneously. So far, we have covered a lot of things including mobile landscape complexity, emulators, automation, performance testing, etc. Now, as part of thing 7, we will look at the importance of having a robust mobility testing framework. With the typical mobility development and deployment cycles shrinking every day, it becomes very critical to have a quick turnaround times for testing. This can be made possible by having a robust testing framework that takes into consideration all the previous 6 things that we discussed. The framework should provide reusability and repeatability to the testing process, should include standard tools across automation, performance, and security as well. The framework also should include best practices, checklists, guidelines, and anything that can help in thoroughly testing and also quickly completing the testing. You should maintain a reusable asset library that can be used across all mobility projects and also keep this asset library up to date. You should also consider device provisioning over the cloud and also device sharing across locations. This gives a lot of flexibility in testing and helps optimizing costs involved in the hardware procurement for mobility testing. Here you see the mobility testing framework that Idexcel uses. This is a framework that is well-rounded and considers every aspect of mobility testing. From the bottom up, to begin with, we have a set of best practices, tools, checklists, and guidelines supporting the various testing types. All this functions as a platform of the testing. We couple this with a device provisioning lab that provides the hardware and platform for our testing. Having seen what constitutes a typical mobility framework, we will now look at some of the tools for mobility testing. I would like to invite Alex to talk about ZAP tools in the mobility space. Over to you, Alex.
Excellent. Thanks a lot, Venkat. Very deep explanation. Definitely appreciate the opportunity to present ZAP Test. A few words about ZAP Technologies. We're developers of ZAP Test suite of products for cross-platform testing, where mobility, of course, it's a big venue for us. The technology we integrate primarily with HP software and Apple platforms. We've been in the industry since the 90s. We've been one of the pioneers of software test automation, implementing our expertise and knowledge in the software today. And we're also considered to be go-to partner by HP software for mobile and Mac-based platforms. Suite of solutions that we have comprise of three main software: ZAP Test based on ZAP Fix, ZAP Farm, and ZAP Gen. Venkat, I appreciate if you can help me with the next slide. Thank you. So ZAP Fix, it's a software solution for test automation. It's offering integration with HP, UFT, and Quick Test Professional. Where the ZAP Farm, it's a software for mobile hosting management, allowing our users a use of distributed devices by distributed teams. And ZAP Gen, it's a performance testing software for mobile platforms. ZAP Fix software that allows us test automation on all platforms, which includes mobile and real operating system as iOS, Android, BlackBerry, and Windows Mobile. Also Windows-based applications that may be applied for cross-web, the client server, SAP, and others, even the Linux and Mac. So with ZAP Fix, you can develop script on the one client and play it on the any other client, relative client on the standalone platform. Key benefits of the ZAP Fix is the fact that ZAP Fix offers cross-platform test automation. It also offers manual testing for external devices through ZAP Fix Viewer. And also, we're supporting agile test processes. As Venkat said, that the mobile application development primarily designed in the very fast iterations and primarily used by agile methodology. So on the today market, conventional test automation technologies lack an ability to address rapid test coverage, since you need to use API-based approach, and you have to have application developed and presented to you before you automate. Of course, in agile testing, it's very difficult to fit in, and therefore ZAP Fix as alternative solution definitely helps you with ultimate preemptive test automation. We're famous for seamless integration with HP Suite. Many of the customers using HP products today, primarily in the enterprise sector. And using ZAP Fix, its access feels very seamless without any external SDKs or external frameworks to be implemented. For any user who used Quick Test Professional UFT in the past, it's very easy to adapt. And of course, one script technology, as already mentioned briefly, you can develop script on the particular client and play it everywhere. ZFix also offers universal configuration for devices under test. As Venkat mentioned, there's a different types of configuration of the mobile devices. Default, of course, is a jailbreaking and rooting that not necessarily always will be the good fit for organization to use. Alternative, we offer instrumentation for mobile application under test that allows you to control particular application remotely that had been instrumented. And for advanced users, we also offer ZUMA, which stands for ZEP Universal Mobile Access Protocol. Using ZUMA, users can configure their mobile device and have a full control of the device without jailbreaking or rooting device. And using ZFix, we offer testing and application monitoring in the cloud. At this point, I want to ask Venkat to help me with a demo to play a video to demonstrate how automation can be done using ZFix. In this demo, we're going to create script using ZFix and HPUFT and ALM on the Internet Explorer and play it back on all browsers on Windows, Safari on Mac OS, and 2 browsers on mobile devices, on iPad and tablet. So the way we develop script, we scan GUI and build what we call GUI map and object workbench. Once all the objects been selected and configured, and we use different methods for device management here based on the object precision, on the relative object different configuration. So once all the objects been collected, we can add them to HPUFT or Quick Test Professional and create script the traditional way as you use Quick Test Professional per se for any other automation, application automation. So as you can see, we support different types of frameworks. It can be done through keyword view, it can be done through expert view. Definitely support all configurational aspects as far as environmental variables or maybe external data sources, reusable action, custom functions. So if you use a particular approach, there shouldn't be any impact to the way you do automation on a daily basis. Now, next step, we're going to move to ALM for execution. In ALM, we're going to select test set, which is going to include 4 instances of the very same script that we just created using Internet Explorer. Each instance will be assigned to its individual host for execution. So each host will be playing this script using different browsers. Not necessarily Internet Explorer, but we're going to use Internet Explorer, Firefox, Chrome, and even Opera. That approach will just demonstrate that one script technology with ZFix, it's really client agnostic. So the technology itself, not focusing primarily on the flavor of the graphical user interface of application under test. And what you see here is a live video feed where it demonstrates the live execution of all 4 scripts. It looks like we got a little delay in the video. However, I encourage you to look at our videos also online. We have a YouTube channel. You can see we have around 30 different demos there of different aspects of test automation on mobile using ZFix and ZTest product. So what you see here right now, we have results of this execution. And as the video progresses, next step, I believe we have in this video, somehow the screen got a little dark. I'm not sure if we can see a continuation of the video. So let's see if we'll be able to fix it somehow. Looks like it's still we get in the dark screen.
I'll provide the links to the videos
sure,
when we share the information to the participants.
Absolutely. Absolutely, definitely. So, but even on the fraction of the video, the demo that we saw, you can make sense out of it that ZFix with one script technology offers completely cross-client and a cross-platform test automation coverage, which definitely addresses for mobility, where you can develop script on on iOS, and you can play it back on Android, native application, hybrid application. You can use test automation of emulators. In many cases, organizations may be not ready for automation on real devices for various reasons, maybe environmental, infrastructural reasons, or simply a real application is not available. So in this case, you can start automation on emulators, and then you can reapply the script without any further modifications on the real device application. So there's a different place and different situation where you can use ZFix. Another product that I want to talk about, and Venkat, if you can help me with the next slide.
Sure.
It's a ZEP farm. Along the side with automation, also the way we access and manage devices, mobile devices under test is very important. And we all know that in the testing practice, primarily manual testing usually comes first. So in the cases when you just start in testing of your mobile applications, ZEP farm definitely going to be a good fit, because ZEP farm offers a test management solution for distributed devices. By distributed devices, I mean that you don't have to have all the devices localized in the same location, hardwired to each other or to any kind of racks or cards. You may have individual phones distributed anywhere within your organization. Each phone may be connected over to a particular workstation and communicate its signal and the control of the phone over the software installed on the workstation to the web server. And this is how ZEP farm designed. What you see here right now, two interfaces of the iPhone, one through ZFix viewer that can be used through ZFix, and in the case if we don't use an automation of ZFix, we can use a web interface and access phone through browser. And this is what you see here right now. So we access and control an iPhone through web interface as if we have the phone in our hands. So ZEP farm offers access for distributed teams. So as all devices being added to a particular portfolio, user team from different location may access over the web. You can also access multiple devices at once. And this is what you will see here right now. We access an iPhone, and then we'll select in the portfolio iPad, and we can also control iPad remotely at the same time. So if you do manual testing, it's priceless, because at the one time you can do manual testing on multiple devices, which definitely saves you a lot of time and make it very efficient testing process. And also we offer different reporting functionality. Management, for example, can log in and run report on the device usage by the group to see who used the device at which particular time and what events have been done on the device. ZEP farm devices being zoomified. As I mentioned earlier, Zuma, it's a protocol that allows full access to device without jailbreaking. And we'll also offer air upload of the application under test. And that's what you just saw. We just drag and drop API file, which is an Apple application, into the web interface, and it's installed application on the background. And that's pretty much ZEP farm. That's what I wanted to cover today. Again, I encourage you to go to zeptest.com. Please take a look at our product demos, submit evaluation form, and Venkat and his team going to follow up with you with the product demo. Thank you so much for your time, Venkat. Back to you.
Thank you, Alex. As a concluding remark, I would like to state that at Idexcel, we have used all the 7 things that we discussed today very successfully in our Mobility Testing Center of Excellence. We have a robust mobility framework that covers the 360-degree of mobility testing. We constantly research on new mobile technologies, device and OS releases, so we know and understand the industry trends. We also partner with industry-leading tool providers, which gives us access to our partners' technical teams, and we work with them to extend the tool if required to suit the specific customer needs and changing technologies. With that, I would like to open the floor for questions. Anna has been compiling the questions as we received them throughout the webinar. Anna, please go ahead with the questions.
Venkat, I compiled some of the questions. Okay, one, does the mobile testing team need to be on-site only?
Anna, I'll take that question. I think offshore can definitely be leveraged for mobility testing, especially with the availability of devices on the cloud models. It would definitely make economical sense to utilize offshore for testing. Also, the emulators can be used to cover some types of testing, like what we've seen in the Thing 4, where we said we can do early in the cycle testing, we can do some sort of regression testing, some level of functional testing. So with all this availability, we can definitely leverage offshore for testing.
Okay. Is Zap Farm available for everyone or only for ZapFix owners?
Yes, Zap Farm available for everyone. You don't have to use ZapFix for that. All products in Zap Test can be used on standalone basis. So if you're not ready for automation just yet, you definitely can use Zap Farm. Thank you.
Okay. And is it possible to create one script to run across different languages?
Oh yes, absolutely. ZapFix has comprehensive coverage for different languages. And we even support languages in a dynamic fashion. If you consider conventional technologies that already exist in the market, usually you can do test automation of particular language in this only singular script. In our case, you can parameterize it and make it very dynamic and swap it in different languages in an iterative format. Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. Can Zap Farm work with automation tools such as QTP?
Yes, absolutely. Zap Farm can be used with automation tools as a QTP and UFT. Yep.
And does ZapFix need to instrument apps or jailbreak the device?
Not necessarily. As I mentioned earlier, we offer a flexible configurational approach. So we're giving users full freedom to decide how they would like to access devices and access application under test. So yes, you can use jailbroken or rooted devices with ZapFix, yet we offer Instrumenter that allows you to instrument your application under test. And in addition, we offer Zuma protocol, which can be configured per device individually.
Okay. And do I need to instrument our apps before uploading to Zap Farm?
Not necessarily. If you use it, depends what devices you use. Under the Zap Farm licensing, we already offer a Zuma per user devices. If you would like to use, in some cases when Zuma is not applicable, you might instrument your application.
Okay. And can tests run over Wi-Fi to test application on mobile devices?
Yes, we support connectivity to devices over Wi-Fi primarily.
Okay, here's another one. How much of what you discussed is relevant for handheld devices?
Let me answer that, Anna. Whoever has asked this question, if they're specifically asking about the point of sale handheld devices like the Intermec and Motorola, I would say most of what we discussed here is relevant there as well. Since handheld devices are used for a specific purpose, we need to do additional types of testing as well, like testing the data sync up, store and send, where the data relevant for the transaction is stored on the device, and as and when it is able to establish connectivity with the server, the app syncs the data with the server. At times, the device providers do release new devices, and we need to certify the new devices for the suitability for the app that's running on these devices. Keep in mind, the apps that run on these handheld devices are enterprise class, and there needs to be a lot of testing to be done around data security, network resilience, and redundant network usage, where the devices have more than two networks it can connect to, and the device uses one of these as the primary and the other one as the fallback. I hope I answered the question.
Can we add our own devices to Zap Farm?
I can take that. Yes, absolutely. Zap Farm offers flexibility to users to either use Zap devices. If you need to rent, you can use third-party devices like our partners, like Idexcel's, or you can use your own devices. Depends what your device strategy, and you can have a mixed device strategy as well, of course.
Okay, and one more. How do you address the iOS 7 upgrade?
I'll take that question, Anna. That's a good question. We do multiple things. We work with our partners like Zap, who are technology partners with Apple, and get access to the newer versions of the releases even before it's released to the market. Through our partners, we understand what's changing and prepare for the testing. Most importantly, the best approach is to really understand what is changing in the new OS as compared to the previous one. If you look at iOS 7, Apple added a fingerprint recognition with devices like 5S and 5C. They added a new UI, color scheme, and a few screens that provide easy access to the settings and alerts that slide across the main screen. So your strategy should essentially cover for what's changing in the iOS 7 and also downward compatibility for the OS, meaning how does iOS 7 work on the previous versions of the devices, like until 4S. And for features that are specific for 5C and 5S, like the fingerprinting authentication, they're tested as well. In the first few days, we did find quite a few defects in the iPhone dialer. If we are using the iPhone to join a conference, as you enter your conference number followed by the PIN number, we saw that the text in the display is all overlapping and screen looks very ugly. I wish I could share a screenshot right now, but I do not have access to that. And the bottom line basically is to understand the changes that are happening, and based on that, you need to prepare your test strategy and do the testing. Go ahead, Anna. Any other questions?
Sure, we have a bit more time, and we have a few more questions. Can Zap-Fix script be used for performance testing?
Yes. We have another product called ZapGen. So ZapGen works on the principles that it's leveraging functional testing script for performance instantly. As you probably know, in the industry, usually performance testing tools work separately on the standalone basis from the functional testing. And in the conventional application testing, that was taking place, where the functional testing team were performing as a standalone phase in the testing cycle from performance testers. Now, as Venkata mentioned earlier, in the mobile application development, performance and functionality goes together because everything's done with the one click on the mobile device. So what we see as a latest trend in the industry, that our users testing for performance in the same phase as the testing for functionality. And therefore we see that it's very useful approach where you can take functional test as a Zap fix and run it for performance testing with the ZapGen. Back to you, Ann.
Okay, and do you recommend having our own devices or leasing them?
I think I can take that question, Anna. So it depends. You know, as I said, 20/80 rule. You can consider 20 combinations of OS and devices, and you can cover for 80% of your user population using those devices. And within this 20, if you really do not have the capabilities of procuring all these devices, you can use the devices in the cloud providers where you can procure some of these devices. Or you can use providers like Idexcel, where we can procure these devices and host them on the cloud for you guys. So, you know, if you can procure, well and good. If not, you can use some of these other opportunities that you have to do the testing. I think with that, Anna, any more questions, we'll answer them offline. We'll send the responses to them offline because it's almost time for our concluding this webinar. And as a concluding comment, I would like to thank you all for participating in this webinar. I hope we were able to give you sufficient information and good information that's useful for you. And I apologize for some of the people who are not able to see some of the slides. We'll send out a recorded presentation for you for viewing them at a later time. And appreciate the time. And watch out for more webinars from Idexcel in the future. Thank you very much. Thank you all.